I'm going to be citing some examples of manifestation. These are stories of real happenings of how people were able to manifest things out of the spirit realm, physical things. And after some of these stories, I'm going to explain using the diagram how this thing comes about. Because I have manifested certain things in certain ways, and through meditation, through contemplation, I was able to understand how it works using this chart from the spirit of God to the spirit of man to the soul of man to the psychic body and down to the physical reality. But let's watch some of these stories before I proceed.
Level 5 manifestation is when you manifest physical objects out of thin air, and I've done a video on all the levels. It's tagged herein. How could this be possible? Let's talk about it. First of all, I want you to understand this is more common than we think. And many gurus and people of spiritual advancement have been able to do this and do it with eyewitnesses there. One such person is sort of a contemporary guru. His name is Satya Sai Baba. You can Google him and see videos of him manifesting holy ashes, manifesting gold, manifesting jewelry, food, whatever the person in front of him kind of challenged him to manifest, I believe. How do these people do it? So in order to understand this, you need to switch your mind from we are material and the brain produces consciousness to consciousness is primordial. And from consciousness, everything else derives, including the material world. This is a prerequisite to even understanding, let alone doing manifestation. So to simplify, think of it as three subtle planes, two subtle planes and one material plane. The first subtle plane would contain an idea of something. The second subtle plane would be building a matrix around that idea, such as that idea, sort of like a blueprint of that idea, such as that idea can gain material form in our material world. And the way the energy flows is from the top to the bottom, right? So it's idea, its blueprints, and its materialization. And through certain practices, your consciousness can affect the idea and can affect the time that that blueprint creates around the idea and collapses into our 3D world. Another way to think about it is based on quantum mechanics, the science that's coming closer and closer to admitting reality isn't real unless it is observed a certain way. So reality exists in a state of quantum flux, in a state of probability, only probability waves, and somebody of advanced consciousness can theoretically access this field of potentialities and collapse the probability, could make one event more probable than others, and in this manner can bring forth a certain thing into our reality. Finally, for those who subscribe to the theory that reality is a simulation or the holographic universe, this is explainable by the fact that somebody could just simply reprogram the code. So you can potentially reprogram the matrix, the game, the simulation from within the matrix if you actually understand how it works. Or in holographic theory, you can actually pull something out of the unified field because everything is just a smaller portion of a larger everything. So if we are containing all the information that ever was and ever will be, we can theoretically access this unified field and pull forth whatever it is we desire. But an interesting thing that I read in many forms from different gurus who have observed this or have done this themselves is that astrally produced objects, the ones we produce them with our consciousness, are structurally evanescent, which means the atoms do not last in our world for very long. So a lot of these items that materialize pretty quickly dematerialize, and you may be able to bring something forth, put it somewhere, and then it disappears, and when it disappears again, it disappears for good. I attended a Dr. Joe Dispenza seminar in which he tells a story of him being able to produce a loaf of bread just by thinking about it. He was in the wilderness and he had a bottle of wine and he said a nice loaf of bread would go with this. He was alone in a very remote area and a loaf of bread simply hit him over the head. He says this story on stage. I really believe him because of who he is. Something similar, maybe a 4.5 level, happened to me. I was really concerned about a test it was actually a very complex technical assignment that I had. I didn't know where to start. This is while I was in university, and all of a sudden the same test, but it was the next day, so that's why I'm saying it's a 4.5. The next day, the same test with the answers materialized right in front of me. I say the story in another video. But anyways, in any event, I think for people who live in the world, the level 5 is not something you need to worry about it. You're right. Stick to level 3 and 4, and you're going to have a beautiful life.